because you're taking time on a Saturday. So we're going to go ahead and start, and I will let Veronica kick us off.
Heidi, and good morning, everyone, or afternoon, depending on where you're tuning in from. Welcome to today's webinar. We're absolutely thrilled to have you all here with us. My name is Veronica. You may have seen me before if you've been on previous webinars. And I'm the head of sales for the school. I'll be your host for this session. And please do ask any questions in the chat. I will answer them as quickly as I can. I'm sure Heidi will probably see them and jump in as well. So super excited to welcome Heidi back to us, who's an absolute true expert in language learning. However, before we dive into today's webinar, I just want to share a little bit of housekeeping. So firstly, huge thanks to everyone for joining us today. We will be recording today's session, so you will get a copy of the recording after the session along with these resources. Now, just to make sure that everybody has the best experience, your microphones will be automatically on mute and cameras turned off. If you do have any questions or thoughts, like I say, please do drop them in the chat or the Q&A box. And we'll also reserve some time at the end of the Q&A session, so please those questions come in. Finally, enjoy. And I'm going to pass the virtual stage over to you, Heidi.
Thank you so much, Veronica. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, wherever you are joining us from. We are so happy that you are here and joining us today for our fourth webinar that we've been working on with This is School. So this one is the last in the series, and it kind of puts everything together. So that's why I chose the title, kind of linking the 3 modes to level up language performance. So we are going to dive right in because I have a lot of content for you all today. So lots to think about. Don't worry, you will get a copy of the entire presentation, all the materials, all the links, everything you will have access to. So there's no need to worry. You can jot down notes as you go, but you will have access to everything, as well as a notebook I've curated for you all to even take this further and back to your schools and your departments. So you can work through this as a team and collaborate on ways that you all can level up your language teaching for your learners. So for those who don't know me and for those who haven't been here before, I think I've seen mostly familiar names in the list, but if you haven't met me, oh, sorry, that should say department chair. Whoops, sorry, we'll fix that. I was typing really fast last night. So I am the French teacher and department chair at Loudoun Valley High School in Purcellville, Virginia, which is in Northern Virginia, not too far from Washington Dulles International Airport, also not too far from Washington, D.C. So I teach at Valley. I also am the 2019 American Council on the Teaching of Foreign Languages Teacher of the Year finalist. I was SCOLT Teacher of the Year, Southern Conference on Language Teaching Teacher of the Year in 2018, and the 2017 FLAVA Foreign Language Association of Virginia Teacher of the Year. So that's a little about me. If you want to connect with me, my email is on the screen. So feel free to drop me a line at any time if you have any questions, if there's anything I can do to help you, to help your department, your students, please feel free. I'm always here to help you all in any way I can. You can also connect with me on social media. On X, formerly Twitter, I'm at HTrude07. And on Instagram, I'm at HLT2007. You can tweet and you can post things on Instagram throughout the presentation. I also linked my website to today's slide deck as well. That has tons of resources for you all. Pretty much any presentation I have ever given is linked there, and you have access to it and those materials. So it's a goldmine of resources, whether they're based with technology, teaching strategies, activities I've done, all of that is curated on my website, and you all have access to that as well. So please use it. Feel free to share. My only ask is that you give credit to me for those resources. So moving right along is our objectives for today. So today, by the end of our session, you will be able to identify and explain the 3 modes of communication. So if you're not familiar with those or you need a refresher, We're literally going to do a quick refresher. We're going to review from our first session way back in January, the principles of backward design. So quick little review in case you weren't here for that, because that is essential for understanding how we can link these modes and really work on leveling up our language performance. We'll work on using a can-do statement to adapt a task for the appropriate level of proficiency. And then finally, how we can offer those level ups to stretch our students' language performance. So how can we really push them to go to the next level with their language use is going to be our ultimate end goal. So quick review of the 3 modes. So we're going to look at the interpretive, the interpersonal, and the presentational modes, what they are, what they aren't, and then there's going to be a little interactive activity for you all. So get ready because you're going to be working in the chat in a couple seconds, not a couple seconds, like a minute or two. All right, so the modes, just as a brief overview, if you're not familiar with them or you're like, yeah, I know the words, but I don't really know definitions. So I'm not going to read all this to you all because that's a lot of words. You'll get a copy of it, but the interpretive is the mode that's going to focus on our ability to understand the target language, both in written and spoken form. In other words, reading and listening. Interpersonal is where we have communication, where we're speaking or writing to others, and it's where information is exchanged. In interpersonal, the keys are it must be spontaneous and it must be unrehearsed. And then we finally have presentational. And presentational, the big thing we need to note with presentational, that's where our students are planning and they're rehearsing what they will write and what they will say. And in writing, this is where we would have our students, they have that time to draft what they're going to say, they're going to revise before producing a final product, okay? So presentational, you want to think of it as polished. Interpersonal, you're on the fly. And interpretive, we're reading and we're listening. So those are the 3 that we're going to focus on today and really looking at how can we take each mode and how can we push our students to go to the next level? How can we get them to communicate and do more with the language in each mode? So again, just some other ways that you could see it. If you don't like lots of words, this is just a shorter way to look at it. So think of it as interpretive. Our language is going in. We're intaking that language. It's our input. So that's reading, that's listening. Interpersonal, again, it's back and forth conversation. That could be speaking, that could be writing, a text, an email, a letter. Presentational, again, is speaking or writing. And the key thing here is it's for an audience. Okay, so it's for an audience. That could be a presentation in front of the class. That could be a formal letter to the editor, etc. So presentational writing and presentational speaking. So what we're going to do right now in the chat, I want you all to drop in examples, and I'm giving you the choice of what could be an example of any of these categories right now. So what might be an example of interpretive reading, interpretive listening, interpersonal communication, presentational writing, or presentational speaking? So in the chat, which you all have access to, I want you to drop an example of an activity you do in your classroom that represents one of these modes. So go ahead, go to chat, and in chat, make sure you select everyone. And you don't have to type a long, detailed explanation of it. You're going to have a chance to do that later on. So if you do, just like Gisela just did, she put which category and what it might be. That's exactly how I want you to set it up. Beautiful. Interpretive reading, infographics, absolutely. Presentational writing, completing a journal. Yep. Drop some other examples of things you all do. Speaking, voicemails. Ooh, I like that one. All right, we got, whoa, you guys are going fast now. We've got listening to music in the target language with lyrics printed on screen. Song lyrics, love it. We've got show and tell. Yep. What else do you all do? Roxum, yes, if y'all don't know Roxum, Roxum is amazing. It's an amazing tool for listening activities. So good. If you don't know it, check it out. Drop some other examples in, y'all. I know you guys do more than this. Yeah, these are all fabulous. And Veronica, if we can make sure we save the chat, because I think that would be a great resource, especially for this session, to include as well when we send out the recording.
Yeah, we definitely can share that. Absolutely no
Yeah,
problem.
that would be an awesome thing to do. I think because people are giving so many, skits. I'm seeing lots of great ideas for interpretive reading. Yep, school is perfect for interpretive listening. Absolutely. They've also got reading too, if y'all didn't know. There's reading activities. And another trick you can do with This Is School that I actually learned from my colleague in my department, which I'd never thought to do this. She's like, yeah, I take the transcripts and I turn them into interpretive readings. Never thought of that one. So I want to give my German teacher, Teresa Breitenthaler, a little shout out for that awesome idea. She's like, yeah, just take some of them. She's like, I pick some for them to do listening with and then take some to do as interpretive reading. And then she just takes the comprehension questions and puts them in. So great little tip. So nice little fun way if you want to switch it up a little, you can do that. You guys are throwing some great ideas in there. So if you have more, keep throwing them in. And I'm going to show you just some possible other ideas. These are just some examples. And I actually do this activity with my students at the beginning of the year when I teach them the modes. This is just a way you can teach them what are the modes, what do we do in our language class, like what does it look like. So they actually do this as a drag and drop sort. So when you get the resources, you'll see it presented to you that way. So they just drag and they drop and they work in groups and they're trying to decide which ones go where. So it's a fun activity. So things you could do, scanning a passage to complete some questions would be interpretive reading. Reading a story on a slideshow, interpretive reading. Some interpretive listening, watching a video, writing down what you understand. Responding to a comment on social media, you're having a conversation on the phone. Those are all interpersonal. Oops, sorry. I got a little click happy there, y'all. All right. Presentational writing, writing a summary of something you read. Presentational speaking, you're recording a video by yourself. So maybe you have them talking about their favorite artist, their favorite musician, their favorite song, recording on Flip. Those are awesome for presentational speaking, or use the speaking tool on This Is School and they can record there too. You could prep a TED Talk. These are just some ideas, but y'all have tons of ideas I see going in the chat, which is incredible. So if you're still not sure about modes and you're like, ooh, what are these modes? I've put some links here to additional resources. One is from Longwood University, and it's a nice summary of the modes with examples. So you'll have access to that. I can actually drop that link in the chat as well for you all. So there you go. So that's just a nice summary on the modes. And then this one comes from Joshua Cabral from the World Language Classroom. And I like this one when presenting to students because it's visual. It's got lots of graphs. It's not just words. And the kids really see it as they progress because he sets it up where it's like steps and they're like stairs and they see how they literally move up. So I like that visual. So I'm going to drop that link for you all in the chat as well. And you will get these again, so don't worry if you don't save them now. It's okay. You'll get them again at the end. So that one just shows you, and I'll open it just so you can see because it's great. And if you don't listen to him or follow his podcast, I highly recommend his. It's the World Language Classroom is his podcast. He has a new episode every week. And this is just, he tells you like, what does it look like and what does it feel like? And I use this with the kids because my kids at the beginning of the year do a whole video on what level am I currently at? I am currently this. What level do I hope to get to? And how can I get there? So they look at these, like if we break it down to novice low, novice mid, novice high, tells them what they can do. And then they figure out, okay, well, I'm here. I want to get to here. This is what I'm going to need to focus on and practice with. And it's really powerful seeing them make those goals and explain how they can get there and what they'll be able to do when they get to that level. So, as a tip, that's one I recommend maybe looking at if you really want your kids to start setting goals for themselves and being able to create those level ups for themselves as well. So, those are just some resources. So, quick recap on backwards design, which we talked about all the way back in our first webinar. So, back in late January, we talked about how do we create meaningful feedback and assessment for our students. And for me, my key is always backwards design. And that is one of the actual core practices and core principles is planning with that backwards design model. Basically, that we know what our desired result will be, and then we figure out our evidence, and then we plan the learning. So knowing the end goal before we set up everything else is essential. Let me see you guys putting things in chat. Oh, I will fix the link and make sure that's working for you all. Thank you for letting me know. I will double check that and correct that and make sure because it's opening on my end. So I will double check that for you all to make sure it is correct. But I'll do that later. So sorry about that, y'all. You're welcome. All right, so just to recap backwards design, again, first step is what are our big ideas? What are those skills? What do we want our students to be able to do by the end of the lesson, the unit, etc.? Then we're going to determine that acceptable evidence, whatever that may be and that may look like. Whoops, sorry. And then that's going to be whatever that culminating assessment task is. And then finally, we plan the learning experiences and the instruction. That's going to be what we do day to day in our class. So always in mind the big idea, the skills, what's that final assessment project, etc. going to be? Well, how do I know they know it? And then what does my day-to-day instruction look like? So if you want to think of it in terms of a unit, this is what it would look like. And this comes from the Ohio Department of Education for their world languages. So I really like the way they set theirs up because I'm very visual. If y'all didn't know yet, you know. I like visuals and graphics. So this one, I like it because it shows me really easily the honeycombs in the middle are my big things. So my learning outcomes, that's what I need to look at first. Then I'm going to figure out what is my evidence. And then I figure out, okay, the planning and instruction, the fun part. So, okay, what do I need? What are my standards? What's my theme, my proficiency level, the can-dos, the essential questions? All of that leads me to determine what is that summative performance assessment going to be? Is it going to be an integrated performance assessment, an IPA? Is it an authentic resource? And what then is my authentic sources going to be for that IPA? What's the interpretive task? What's the interpersonal? What's the presentational? What rubrics will I need? And then I look at how do I actually plan for the instruction? And that's a lot of different components coming together. What are the language functions my students? So what are they actually going to do? What are they able to do? What are my authentic resources? What technology might I use? What prior knowledge do my students have coming into it? What modes of communication am I going to focus on? What vocab do they need to know? What structures and context do they need? What higher order thinking skills are we focusing on? What are my formatives going to look like? What teaching and learning strategies am I using? How am I making cultural comparisons and communicative? How am I making those intercultural connections? Lots of pieces to the puzzles here. But if we know what our big goal is before we start, then all these smaller little circles, they all start to come together. So that leads us to how do we actually plan it when we're thinking about all of this. So again, like I said, back in January, we need to shift our mindset and we want to be thinking more like an assessor and not like an activity designer. And again, this comes from Wiggins and McTighe. So they get this through understanding by design. So if you're thinking like an activity designer, you're like, ooh, what's interesting and engaging? What would be interesting and engaging? What would be fun to do? It's great. But to really hit home at backwards design, you want to start thinking like an assessor and thinking what task would show me that my students really understand and can apply the new learning. You can still add fun into your lessons. Like I do it all the time. There's still ways to make things fun. There's still ways that you can gamify everything, but still be focusing on that end goal. Okay, so an assessor would be, what are the learners able to do as a result of the lesson that they couldn't do at the start? And what is your evidence that you have that they can do it? So again, just think, what can they do that they couldn't do at the start? And how can I show that evidence? Especially if you're being observed by your administrator, et cetera, you want to have that evidence that you can prove that, look, they started here and now they can do this. Or if you're in a school where you keep portfolios, you want that evidence to show, okay, you started here and look how far you grew. Look what you can now do. So again, thinking like an assessor really helps you to gather that information. It also helps the students see that they're making progress throughout. So again, why the backwards design? It helps both you and the students maintain focus. You can edit your curriculum while teaching. So if you see something's not working or they're not mastering a skill or a concept, you can edit, you can change. You are not locked in because you know what the ultimate end goal is. So you can make those edits and tweaks as you go to meet your learners' needs. So it's beautiful for differentiation and personalized learning. Also, you can prioritize the essential content for the students who require modifications. So make those changes for those kids who may need different changes, may need the curriculum in a different format, or may need an activity that's a little different from what the student at the next table has. And you'll know when it's time to assess. You'll know when they're ready because you will have gone through lots of practice activities, lots of different strategies, resources. They've seen things in multiple different ways. They show you that they can communicate and that they can do things because you know what the ultimate end goal is. They know what the ultimate end goal is. So it just makes it a lot better and easier for everyone if we always plan with the end goal in mind. All right, so that was a lot, and I did that really fast. So I'm going to pause and see if there are any questions before we really dive into now, how can we link this all together? So how can we link backwards design, the 3 communicative modes, what we talked about regarding feedback in our first session, what we've talked about gamification, what we've talked about getting them to speak in our speaking strategies, and really looking at how can we design these tasks that really bring it all together. Before we dive in, I'm just going to see if anyone has any questions or anything you want to pose in the chat before we move forward. So
Seems to be all good, Heidi.
I'm not seeing anything unless someone is still typing. And if you're still typing, no problem. I will pause and answer it when I see it come through. It's not a problem. All right, so let's look at how we can use our can-do statements to design level appropriate tasks. And I love making can-do statements, y'all. So hopefully you're gonna love this part because can-dos are really fun. Ooh, something in the chat. Cool. Let me see what we got. Yeah. Okay. Question. What do you do when you have time restraints? Like time restraints as in having to get it covered within a certain time period, Jennifer? Like you only have this quarter and you have to have it done. I'm assuming that's what you mean. Yeah. Okay. So for me, I work as hard as I can to try to get it covered in that time. If I can't, I'm not gonna lie, I sometimes don't cover everything I'm supposed to in a quarter. I'm still covering stuff that we may, but I'm also the only French teacher in my school, so I can kind of adapt my program as I need to fit my learners' needs. I know that's not the case for everyone. I know that's not the best answer is do, but I'm going to say do what's best for your students. You know your students, do what is best for them. If everything doesn't get covered, it's okay. If they're learning the language and truly acquiring, it's okay. Like, don't rush just to try to jam in chapter 7 when they're not ready, like, don't do it. Wait till you feel they're confident. Or you could also take some of the stuff they're still trying to master and spiral it back in. So if you don't know about spiraling, that's just hitting the information again and again, mixing it in with new content. So if they're still struggling with a concept, mix it back in. Let them hear it again. Yeah, you heard it when you were in French 1, but guess what? I see some of you may need to hear this again in level 2. We just mix it in. So you can spiral as well. And if you need resources on spiraling, let me know, because I do spiral a lot, because one of the things is being the only French teacher in my school is the benefit that I get the kids every year. So I know what I covered, I know where gaps are, and I can also fill those gaps. I mean, it's hard when they come to me as level 2s and 3s because they're coming from the middle school, and I don't always know what goes on over there, but I do know what their curriculum map is and what they're supposed to have covered. Doesn't mean they always cover it or that the kids remember it. So spiral review is a really great way that can help as well. Okay, differentiation. Okay. Oh, oh my gosh, that's a whole nother topic. Like literally, that would be a rabbit hole to go down right now. But I can provide, like, that might be something we want to look at as another webinar series, is how do we differentiate? But I can give you some quick answers. If you've reading, easy way to differentiate with reading would be using the platform, and I'll put it in the chat. Use Diffit. Oh my gosh, Diffit, amazing. Yeah, so Diffit is great for creating leveled readings. You can pick it all in the same topic. The kids aren't going to realize completely that they're going to have different ones until they like put them in the groups of, okay, you all have reading A. Maybe that's a reading at the novice level. This group over here, you have reading B. You're going to be, and they're at maybe a novice high. Then you have maybe group C over here. They're your really, really strong kids, and you give them reading C, which is a little more challenging, maybe at a novice high, intermediate, low level. It will take, you can go into this platform, you can type in whatever your topic is, it will create the reading in the target language for you by level, and it makes all your questions. So that is a great one for differentiating readings. So that's a quick one, but there's all kinds of other strategies. I literally have a whole webinar I've done on differentiation before. So there's ways you can do choice boards for them where they can choose how they're going to show your learning. I like to use choice boards a lot with my learners because it lets them pick how they are most comfortable learning and what would work. So yeah, trying to see if there's anything else that I know I haven't missed anything else. Good. Okay. Cool. If there are things that you still want to ask, remember, you guys can always email me too if you want more resources of any kind. And I am happy to work with you one-on-one too, even if it's hop on a Zoom call and we can chat things out as well. Totally willing to do that. So moving right into can-dos and how we can design level appropriate tasks for our learners. So here we go, friends. Oops, let me see. You're welcome, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Absolutely. I would be happy to help you guys with differentiation because I kind of do it all the time. When you have all the levels and you get multiple levels in the same class and kids with a variety of needs, I've learned a lot in that realm. So again, moving into our can-do statements. So these are our actable and accessible can-do statements. You can get these on the actual website. I know it's really small and you can probably not read it. That's okay. When you get the resources, it is linked to you, but it basically shows you by proficiency level: novice, intermediate, advanced, superior, distinguished. Don't even worry about superior and distinguished. Most of our learners are going to fall in the novice, intermediate range, and possibly the advanced low range that we teach. So then we look at, okay, Where do they fall? What is our benchmark statement? So what are they able to do? And then we look at what would those indicators be? In other words, how do I know this is happening? And you go through each one. So I'm going to break them down for you all. So if we pulled one up, just kind of a zoom in on one. So the statement is, I can communicate in spontaneous, spoken, written, or signed. Remember, sign language does count as well. On both a very familiar and everyday topic, using a variety of practiced or memorized words, phrases, simple sentences, or questions. This is for novice level. Okay, so what might this look like? Is that I could provide the information by answering novice a few simple questions on a familiar topic using practiced or memorized words or phrases with the help of gestures and visuals. So that is novice low. We're going to those are those kids when they first get into our classrooms. They can't do much because they don't really know the language yet. So some examples are down at the bottom of what that might look like for a novice low learner. And then novice mid is where we're pushing them to get to. So similar to the novice low performance indicator, except now they're just not listing. We're now providing and requesting information, asking and answering a few simple questions on very familiar and everyday topics. Again, with a mixture of practiced or memorized words. So things that they've heard over and over in class. Maybe they've been using chat mats to help answer these. Maybe they have sentence starters, etc. And then pushing them again to novice high. Pretty similar still. However, we've changed it up from being very familiar to being some original. Note they're not all original questions, but some original. We're still practiced. Most are still practiced questions, but there are some original questions on familiar and everyday topics using those simple sentences most of the time. So again, this is what it might look like for a novice. Okay, again, here is one for an intermediate. Again, we've got our proficiency benchmark is again, this one is focusing on the spontaneous written or signed communication on those familiar topics. Then what are the indicators? In other words, how do I know that they admit that they are at that level? Again, what that might look like. And then some actual examples of what they might be doing in your classroom. And again, you can customize these with your content for whatever that unit is. And we're going to look at how we actually do that. I would also recommend, if you've never had the chance to do it, also take the actionable MOPI training or the modified MOPI. It is literally one of the best professional development experiences a language teacher can have. Like, it seriously probably changed a lot of my thinking, not just of how I teach, but also how I assess. And also, like, especially within, it helped me become more empathetic to my learners and understanding where they were at and really what level was what. So if you have never had the chance to do MOPI, do I have a link for it? No, I don't, Adriana, but I will put it, just Google on their website, the actual MOPI, and you'll be able to find it. So MOPI, Modified Oral Proficiency Interviews. It is seriously probably the most powerful training. It's a lot, like your brain will be hurt, like it will make your head hurt because it's so much, it's like information overload, but it is so worth it. I think I would take it again in a heartbeat, just as a refresher. And it really made me understand the modes. What is what level? What does it look like? How do I ask my kids those right questions? And really focused in on how are they going to acquire the language? What does it look like? What does it sound like? How can I push them to be better? So I just throw that out there as something, if you really want to go deep in this, this is like, we're just kind of skimming the surface. But if you really want to go deep, look into that as well. So these are just some more examples for intermediates. And then how do we actually write that can-do statement? So writing the necessful, actful, can-do statement. So this is kind of the formula we use. You take your I can, or if you put it in your target language, which is what I do for my kids, I write it in English and in French. So I can, the function, followed by the context, followed by how well they can do it, equals a can-do statement. We're going to break it into pieces. So I can. All right. I express, ask about, and react with some details to preferences, feelings, or opinions. So that's my function. And you can pick any of those words. Those are just some examples of what I can do, my language function. Then we're going to add the red to it afterwards, the context. So I can, what is my language function? Now my context is whatever that topic is. So whatever we're talking about, what a unit we're studying. Hey, maybe we're looking at foods around the world, foods in the Francophone world, talking about ourselves and our families, whatever the topic is, that is the context. And then it's going to be how well we can do it. So how do we know it? Going back to backwards design. So how we know it is by creating simple sentences and asking appropriate follow-up questions, maybe, in this case. So again, just kind of an example of how you would set up a good can-do statement. Are there any questions before we move on to really looking at some classroom examples of how we use this and how we level up? Yeah, go ahead. What do I got? Yep, that looks like it. That does look like the Mopies. Yeah, Mopie is awesome. I've done it both in person and I've done it virtual. I would say if you have the choice, do an in-person versus a virtual, because it was a lot virtually. It was lots of hours on Zoom. So like all day hours on Zoom. So I would say go virtual, not virtual, sorry, go in person if you can, and see if your district will support it. Oh yeah, Janet, we're going to dive right into French examples now. Absolutely. We're going to go and look at content examples on this. So here we go. All right, so what does this look like in your classroom by level and by mode? So here we go. Okay, so we're first going to start at novice mid. Okay, and novice mid focuses on identifying some basic facts from memorized or familiar words. So I just pulled one of them. There's a bunch of indicators that actual and accessible has. You pull them, tweak them to your context, write your own. Find familiar words and phrases when they are supported by gestures or visuals in fictional text. So that's the one I picked on to look at first. So what might this look like? All right, so this is a food and culture unit. It is designed for novice mid learners. So how do I communicate my essential question? How do I communicate and relate to people who are different from me? Okay, so that's a question we're focusing on. A task might be, and I made this so this one is not a language specific one. So you could insert where I put TL. TL is target language. Insert German, Spanish, French, Chinese, whatever language you teach. Insert there. Student, so my task, and this is interpretive. Students watch an episode of the target language. It can be a TV drama, whatever. That specifically shows table manners and dining etiquette, because we're focusing on how people to relate to people who are different from me. So again, also focusing on practices, perspectives, and products as well. So looking at our 3 Ps. So my can do would be, and remember, these are novice mid. They can't do much, but they can list and identify. So they can identify simple table manners, language use, and proper etiquette when addressing elders by watching an episode of a target language TV drama. So they could see simple things that might be like, ooh, they're using formal versus informal. They did this, they did that, etc. Okay, how could you push them to do a little more with their language use? You could ask them to identify other topics of conversation from the authentic resources they saw there. So what else might they see in that clip or from other clips that you could pull in? So that's one example. All right, another one dealing with the food unit, and the task is speed dating. in a target language restaurant. Okay. So that's the task. And what they are going to do, their can do is they can express what they like to eat and ask each other about what they like to order using a mixture of practiced or memorized words, phrases, or simple sentences. So you might tell them, okay, guys, today we are going to name a restaurant. And what I want you to do is go around and talk to people and ask them what they like to eat and order here. And they'll be using phrases we've been using in class, like from last, I almost said episode, last webinar, where I showed you all the chat mats. They could have those out because that would give them that practice phrases, that would give them that support and that scaffold. But some of that is going to be up to their personal opinion. Maybe this one student really likes the chicken dish at this place. Another student may be like, well, I like hamburgers, or I like pizza here, whatever, or I want the croque monsieur. Okay, so they're going to use a mix of things they know versus things that aren't always practiced. And then their level up could be that they can express themselves using proper etiquette and word usages that they have identified as culturally appropriate from prior resources shown in the unit. So that is one example. Let me see, I got a question. Thank you. Oh yeah, you're gonna get a ton more examples, Jennifer. Like, wait till you see the resource I built for you all this time. Like, oh my gosh, y'all are gonna love what I did. I had a little too much fun kind of geeking out on this topic. All right, novice highs. Okay, so these are our novice high learners. Sorry about that, I had to get some water. So the performance indicator I'm focusing on this time is I can identify the topic and some isolated elements from simple sentences in a short fictional text. So again, I'm going to focus on interpretive mode here. Okay, we're reading now. So looking at reading. So this is specifically for my French teachers. So here's a nice little French example. Okay, so this is from the story Je veux des pâtes, I want pasta. It's an adorable story. So if you can get your hands on this book, it's super cute. It's really fun. So the interpretive, and again, how does what I do define who I am is my question, focusing on food and free time at the novice high level. And then for the interpretive task, students listen to a teacher read aloud the illustrated children's book, Je veux des pâtes, I want pasta, and they complete a graphic organizer showing what the bunny likes and doesn't like to eat. So simple enough task for them. You go through, you read the story, and the kids have a simple organizer where they're noting like j'aime, I like, je n'aime pas, I don't like for the bunny. Or you could have it the bunny likes, the bunny doesn't like, and they put on one side what the bunny likes, what the bunny doesn't like to eat. So the can do is the students can identify the topic and some isolated information from simple sentences in a short children's book. How can I push them? What is my level up to kind of push them towards that next level? Would be the students identify additional details and information from the book. So I could ask them some additional details. Class, what else did you see? Or why do you think the bunny liked this? Or ask them other details from the story. And that would be a level up and pushing them towards the next level. So, yes. So they can be writing in it while we're reading. Yeah. Since it's a story, like it's an actual physical book. So I just took some screenshots to show you all the book. Because yeah, it's not an online book. But if you had an online book, what I would do, Gisela, is I would, if it's something you have online, project it on your board so they all can see it. What we do is they sit on my rug, they get as close as they can. And then they all have access to come back up and look at the book too, if it's like one that I don't have like a digital copy of. Because some of these are readers I actually pick up when I travel. I love going to bookstores and buying books. I buy way too many. That's why I can never travel with just a carry-on. I always have to have a big checked bag because it comes back filled with authentic resources for my class all the time. So yeah, I use real books. I like using real books a lot. So that's one idea. I'm going to show you guys a few more. And again, this is also on food and free time. So the task is still, or sorry, the question is, how does what I do define who I am? And our task would be find out what group members like to read, listen to, eat, and watch, share ideas, and ask questions about your favorite books, movies, shows, foods, restaurants, cuisine. So in this, the kids are asking each other, it's like basically going around and doing a survey. So what I do in my room is I give them, they have their chat mats, they have their clipboards. So they're going around and they're literally going around and interviewing each other, asking about certain things and topics. So they're asking for and they're giving that information about those topics that are above their books, their movies, their shows, etc. And when doing this, we are using some practiced and some original questions and using simple sentences most of the time. Now, if you want to push them, so they might just be like, what book do you like? Do you like Barbie or Oppenheimer? If I wanted to, so the kid will be like, I like Oppenheimer. Great. If I am that student asking and I want to try to push my partner to the next level, they might ask them, why? A simple, pourquoi? Why? I like Oppenheimer because it is blank, or I don't like it because it is blank. So just asking that simple follow up is a level up, which right now we're doing that in my class because it's March, Music Madness time. Yay, so fun. And the kids all know they have to tell me their opinion about songs, but then they all know they have to be able to whys. Like, why do you like it? Not just, I like it. Great, you like it. But why do you like it? Like, and then why is it similar to this song? Like, and the older kids are like diving into, well, it's similar to this and that. And then you can pull so much from them by just asking follow-up questions and diving deeper. And then depending on what level they are, you can ask even more complex follow-ups. So great way to level up. All right, a presentational task that you might have for a novice high student would be a French language website in your community is conducting a survey about entertainment choices of both native and heritage speakers of the language, as well as teenagers in your community who are studying French. You need to write a blog comment, okay? Note, it's not a blog post, just a comment telling your favorite movies, your TV shows, foods, music, books, etc., and tell why you like what you do. So again, my can do was students can write about what they like to watch, listen to, read, and eat using simple sentences on familiar vocabulary. Making it more real life to them was having them respond to a blog post and writing a comment. And then the level up could be they can incorporate personalized vocabulary. So maybe they've chosen some words that are really specific to what activities they like, using transition words and or asking a question about it. So that would be a simple way for a novice to level up. All right, intermediates now. So again, we're going to look at some activities you could have intermediates do with some examples. So again, I'm going to focus on low and then mid and high. So with low, I can request and provide information in conversation on familiar topics by creating simple sentences and asking appropriate follow-ups. So not too different than novice high, but slightly. All right, so we're focusing on hunger now, and this is for intermediate low students. So my essential question, why and where does hunger exist? So your task is your teacher has given you your teacher has $100 to give to an organization that fights hunger in the French-speaking world. As a group, you need to discuss the problem of hunger in our world and where she should donate the money. Can you agree on the most deserving organization? So their task that they need to accomplish is what they're able to do is they can use simple sentences and an appropriate follow-up to request and provide information about fighting hunger. So they're going to be able to tell me, okay, you should, donate it to this organization because it does this. And then the level up would be that they could speak in a series of sentences and or Note that it's not both, it's and or. Ask a variety of follow-up questions. For an intermediate low as a presentational task, this situation is your French EPAL, so you have a partner school, and your partner school does kids in France. They've all heard that Americans, yeah, we have bad eating habits, we love fast food, and we have high rates of obesity. So you have to write a letter with your truth of how we eat. So they have to tell how we really eat, share what you've learned about efforts to fight hunger in the French speaking world, and compare them to the anti hunger work in your community. So the students are writing about their eating habits as well as fighting hunger using very simple sentences. Again, like we talked about in the last session, using some of those scaffolds, having those supports for them, whether that's word walls, whether that's using circumlocution to go around a word they don't know, whether that's chat mats, etc., making it accessible to them. And then if you'd want to push them to level up, they could share their research and writing connected sentences with transition words. So just basically pushing them to go from intermediate low towards intermediate high is what we want to work on. And knowing that it's not going to happen at the same rate for every kid. They're going to move at different paces. And that's okay. All right, so mids, some examples. So again, this topic is identity, food, and culture, intermediate mids. How does my heritage and background influence the way I live? So in this scenario, they would be learning about relationships between geography, climate, culture, and food in insert your target language, cuisine, so in my case, French, through a variety of authentic resources, which could be either blog posts, food travel shows, etc. And what I would have them do here for interpretive, they could identify the main idea and key information in authentic resources through the use of graphic organizers. So, and there's so many graphic organizers out there for language teachers. Like you could have it just be like, okay, it could be a what do I see? What do I think? What do I wonder? You could have it, there's Madam Shepherd has so many on her website that you can go there and you can find them, you can tweak them, adapt them to your needs. If you use Diffit, the site I mentioned earlier, they have tons of graphic organizers that are all editable that you can edit into your language and use with your learners. And then your level up could be that I can identify the main idea and compare it to their own traditions and culture. So pushing them to that cultural comparison, which is the big thing that we push. We start that with our learners in my district pretty early because we focus on AP and prepping them for that cultural comparison that they're going to get once they're in AP. So just being able to see differences in their culture as well as other cultures. All right, another example for intermediate mids would be interpersonal. So they interview each other about their own family backgrounds and traditions. And again, they could introduce their family backgrounds, ask the follow-ups to prompt their partners to elaborate on their answers in the interview. And then a level up would be they could express relationships between geography, climate, and food in the conversation. So looking again for connections, another intermediate mid, this is a presentational task, and they make a traditional dish with a family member in a video. So kind of like the one I showed you guys back in January with the cooking show, except in this case, they would demonstrate how to cook the dish while explaining the origins of the dish and its ingredients, and they can tell the story of their family background and how it relates to the dish they've chosen. So really honoring their heritage, especially if you have heritage speakers, that's a nice way to do that. And then the level up again, doing a compare and contrast and making reference to what they've learned. All right. So you're like, ooh, how do I do all this level up now? So you really want to invite them to level up. And when you get this is linked here. It's a hyperlink to a document with lots of level ups and strategies for level ups. So what you want to consider, some questions to think about is, does your prompt allow the students to level up? So is there an opportunity for them to go to the next level with their language use? Does it push them to go back to authentic resources and mine, like to dig through them, to look for more, to go deeper in them for more information? Does it set a floor for their performance, but not a ceiling? So it tells them what they like, where they need to go, but it doesn't cap them off. Like there's not an end to what they could do. So those are just some questions to consider when you're thinking about level ups in your class. So I'm going to pause and see if we have any questions or anything y'all want to know about before I kind of show you what I've built for you all as one of your resources. All right, I'm not seeing anything. So now you get to build. And since we're not in a way to do breakouts, what I'm going to do is you get to do this on your own time. And I've made a collaborative Padlet as well. So you can actually post some of your work and we will give you feedback. I will go back in and give you feedback on these. So I'm going to show you what it is. And so here's an example. So you're going to have a slide deck, basically like a notebook. And you have some topics here. I just picked some common ones that I thought fell in most people's curriculums. Obviously, if you want to change them in your notebook, you can, but I just stuck with hunger, healthy eating, food and culture, because that's pretty much covered in most people's curriculum in some spot and in usually multiple years. So what you'll do is you'll look at your proficiency range. I put different proficiency ranges on the slide. And then you'll look at your mode of communication. So whether it's interpretive, interpersonal, or presentational, you're going to create a task. You're going to create a can do. And then you're going to think about, ooh, how can I level this up? How can I push my learners to go even farther, to go deeper? What could I do? So again, this is what a slide might look like. So I've gone through, I've put in your performance indicator. So this one is an intermediate low. The mode to focus on for this slide was interpretive. And this is just an example. So students can watch videos about organizations that fight hunger and complete a table with the name of the organization, its location, and how it fights hunger. Their can do is they can identify topic and related information in short videos about fighting hunger. And my level up for this scenario would be that they can identify additional details and information from the videos. So any additional details they could point out, that's a simple level up. So it doesn't have to be something huge and complex. So that is what that looks like. So how do you access this? You can either scan the QR code or I'm going to drop this in the chat for you all before I show it to you. Whoopsie, sorry, I have got too many things open. Cancel, I don't want to do that. Let me drop this in chat. There we go. That is not what I wanted. Hang tight. Let's try that again. There we go. That should force you to make a copy. And what that's going to look like, and I am going to switch screens. And let me exit this. There we go. So this is what this will look like when you open the notebook. Okay, so we're going to build. And you can build, and this is your own, and please feel free, you can share this with other colleagues, and you maybe turn it into a department meeting task where you all work together and try to build some, especially if you feel this is an area where you need to work on. So again, there are your directions. Here's an example. And then I had designed this originally to be something done in breakout rooms, but it doesn't matter if you're not going to be a group. You can pick what you want, and I'm even letting you pick your topic. So you can go through them and you'll see there's group 1s, there's group 2. So you can choose what topic you want. Okay, do you want hunger, healthy eating, food culture, or pick your own topics? Okay, group 2, group 3, another one. But each time I've changed what you are, whether it's interpretive, intermediate, low, etc. So intermediate low. This one is interpersonal speaking or writing. And I've linked on each one the can-do statements as well for you. So you literally have this notebook with a bunch of prompts that you can practice writing tasks on. And what you want to do with those, as we go back to our slide deck, once you've practiced with some, what I've made for us is a Padlet. And on the Padlet, you can come in and it says share your processing activity on the Padlet. If you're not familiar with Padlet, you just click the pencil tool. And then you can literally type in, here is my practice activity, da da da. And then you can link it. Make sure your link to your notebook is shared so anyone with the link can view. And I've set it up where you could just drop in that link. I'll just drop it actually here in case anyone needs it. We're just going to put it in there. And I will just put it, I'll call it your processing activity in case anyone needs the link again. It'll live in the Padlet for you. There we go, activity, yep. And now it's there. And then you have rights to go in and comment on people's. You can also like their work. So you can give each other feedback as well. So I designed it so this can be kind of an asynchronous task that you can work on at your leisure. And I will be going back in. I will look at these. I will give you feedback. I can answer questions if you're like, ooh, I'm not sure if this is really this or not. I am happy to give you feedback. So again, you have access to those as well. You also have access to all the session resources. So I will drop this link and give this to you in the chat as well. So these are the session resources. So you have everything, and there are other hyperlinks within the slides. So there those are. And you will get access to them as well when the recording comes out. You'll get everything. So don't worry, you'll get it all. So I'm going to pause because we are literally at the end of the presentation, and I actually pretty much did this in an hour. Ooh. So questions, anything about anything today, anything we've covered on speaking, anything on gamification, anything on assessment and feedback, or anything else you literally want to ask me. I will open it up to any and all questions. So go ahead, guys. Fire them away in the chat. Let me know what you're thinking, because I know I just gave a lot, and I know this was heavy today. It was a lot. So let me know what questions you have, and I am happy to answer them. And you can use the Q&A feature too, or you can just drop them right in chat. Ooh, there we go. Cool. Yes. For the and what I believe we had talked with, what Jess and I had talked about, Jess from This Is School, she's going to link all the webinars together for you all. So if you registered for this one, she said she'll send you all the ones so that you don't have missing gaps, since this one kind of ties everything together. So I'll make sure you get that, Jennifer. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We will make sure everybody gets all the things, I promise. Other questions? Yeah, we got you, Gisela. You're going to get everything. And if you're like, ooh, I still have questions, you all know how to reach me. I'll actually put my contact slide up there again for you guys. Whoops, clicking too fast. Yes, I went really fast today. I apologize. It's a lot. Yeah, this is a lot to dig in. So, I mean, email me questions anytime. That's my school email. I will also put my personal email in the chat because I don't mind which one you email me on. Either is fine. There we go. Absolutely. If you want to chat with me individually, we can totally set something up. So yeah, just email me and I am happy to chat with you all. I'm happy to talk with departments, anything you all need. I love sharing. I love working with teachers, coaching teachers through things. So My personal email's up there. I'll put my school email in the chat too. It's on the screen, but it's easier for you all just to like grab it and like start it as a draft, because that's what I do a lot of the times with my emails, is start them as drafts and just save them. And sorry if you heard my laundry go off. There we go. There's my email. Yes, anyone who, and please share resources with each other. You can use the Padlet to drop resources on too. Like, we're community, share resources, y'all. That's how we all learn and grow. So any questions about anything today, please ask, or about any of the prior sessions. Like, I can stick around for a little bit. If anyone has anything, ask away. I'll put the question slide back up. Merci, 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 gracias. Thank you all. You all are wonderful. You're welcome. Oh, when is the next Zoom? That's a great question, Gisela. I don't know yet. I will make sure you get the template, Janet. I may not have linked it yet because I'm still working on one, because I'm giving a chat map presentation on Tuesday. So I will make sure you all get that too. I'll send it actually to Jess and Veronica, so you guys will have that one as well, because I love making things and creating and sharing with you all. And if anyone's going to Sculpt in Atlanta next week, I will see you there. When am I coming to the UK? Oh, that's an awesome question. If y'all want me to come, I will gladly travel. I would be honored. I mean, I've only presented to internationally virtually, but I would love to come and visit you all. I love to travel. Yeah, let's talk. You all are lovely. Oh my gosh, y'all make my day. You bring me joy. So I hope you all go and have some fun now. Don't do teaching. I would absolutely love that, you all. Like, I am totally welcome to talk about very much anything. And I'll bring you cookies. I decorate cookies for fun. So that's like my fun thing I do. So yeah, I would love to visit you all, help you out any way I can. And so will This Is School. They're amazing to work with. And if you all haven't got their trial or your trial of This Is School, please try it out. It's amazing. And it does link to all the modes. Like, I could have added a ton more slides and showed you how each mode of theirs, you can link it, but they link so well to all the modes. So yeah, just go to thisisschool.com, get your trial. It's amazing. And ask me any questions or follow up with me via emails. Yeah, my school is totally open to visitors. Like, oh my gosh, yes. Y'all are totally welcome to come here. You can come to the US. You can totally visit me in the US. I like being a tour guide. I like showing you around and showing you my school. So yes, you can absolutely come and see my school. I mean, it's an old school. It's not fancy and modern. Yes, you guys can totally come visit here in the US, those of you who are my friends abroad. We would love to welcome you. But yeah, if there are no other questions, everyone, enjoy your Saturday and your weekend. Take time for yourself. Do something fun or do something just for you. Try not to grade and work too much. And have a wonderful day, everybody. Thank you all for coming.
Heidi, it was
You're
amazing.
welcome. We appreciate you all. I'm going to stop screen sharing so I can see everybody. Well, that's right. I can't see you all. Don't grade too much, Gisela. Just a little. It can wait till Monday.
Thanks, everyone, and thanks, Heidi. That was amazing. And
You're
as Heidi
welcome.
said, we will be sending out all of the recordings to everyone who registered for our sessions. We do have more sessions in the works, and as soon as we have got those dates down and topics down, we will definitely be in touch. And thank you all so much for your lovely comments. Great to hear of schools that are already using TIS in your classroom. And like Heidi mentioned, please do check us out. We can be reached at www.thisisschool.com, and you can get a free 2-week trial. And we would love to show you our platform in a little bit more detail. But for now, thank you again for attending on a Saturday morning. Thanks so much as always, Heidi. You are amazing. It's so inspiring. Fabulous to see all the great comments in the chat. And we look forward to sending everything out to you over the course of the next few days. Thanks again, everyone.
Have a good one, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.